Hi, thank you for joining me today on my channel. I appreciate you stopping by. Really quick, I want to give a shout out to my patrons on Patreon. I sincerely appreciate your guys' support. If that's something you're interested in, you should check that out. So today we're going to be taking a look at a 100-year-old camp stove. Now, I already did a video on a camp stove. That one was called the Camp Cook, and it was a much smaller version than what this one is. This here would have been considerably upscale version of a camp stove. Now, the other one would have cost equivalent of $100 and some. This one was significantly more. So if you're doing a whole lot of motor camping, then this right here would be pretty much worth it. It's definitely not a starter model because of all the features that it has. It's made by Prentiss Wabers. Now, Prentiss Wabers is a company started in 1916. And they had a rough start to begin with. If you want to check out all the history, I have a write-up on my website at honorableoutfitters.com. On there, I got a bunch more up-close pictures of this thing. So as we go on, if you're interested in seeing more particulars and more detail, check that out. And I also have a shop and I have a blog and various other things on there. So again, it's www.honorableoutfitters.com. So this stove has, like I said, a lot of features to it. At the end of this month, we're going to be doing a cooking recipe from the 1920s, kind of the late 1800s too, because it's a Spanish-American War recipe, but the recipe was carried over in various other books. And I have a source from the 1920s that has the same recipe. So I thought that was really unique and interesting, and I thought people who are interested in Spanish-American War and early 20th century would really find that interesting. And we're going to use it to cook. We're going to use this stove to cook that recipe with various other artifacts. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. This stove, as we turn it around, is pretty heavy. It weighs around 26 pounds. That's a lot of weight to carry. And difference compared to my other camp stove is you'll see down here, there's wires. Now these are going to be your legs. So to open it up, we're going to start there. We're going to pull up. As we tilt it up, you can see here that there's special little latches on the side. We're going to lift up on the latch. Like so. And that'll let this free so we can set it up here. Now, one of the nice features right away that you may notice are these two little legs here. Now we can lift that up slightly, put those down, and those legs will support this. So it acts as a warming rack. You can even use it kind of somewhat like a reflector oven, but there's better features than a reflector oven for that case. But it makes a really nice warming rack or a place to set other things that you may need, perhaps some spices, or maybe if you need to take a cup of coffee, put it down, or even the pot of coffee and set it off of the stove. That's what it's really used for. And we fold this up. And we fold this to this. Now, there's a lot of things that's inside here. Let's take a look. Now, unlike my camp cook, this rack doesn't come out. You fold that up, and you remove all the pieces that were stuffed inside. This is going to be the oven rack. It has a metal base, and it has an asbestos top. So we want to make sure that that's taken care of. I'm probably going to replace the asbestos top because this stuff's coming up, and we have to be careful of that for the health reasons. I have my little funnel, and I have a very different pump compared to the last one that I showed you. lastly, we have our tank. Now let's take a moment and discuss this tank. So this being a more deluxe model, you'll notice probably right away various things. First of all, that the tank is very much connected to the burners themselves. You also notice that it has an air pressure gauge here. That makes it really useful for getting the right amount of pressure in there, but due to the type of fitting that it has for the pump, it also makes it kind of frustrating. You'll notice that this wire here, this is what connects the gas flow from this side to this side. So if you open it up, you got to pull the wire out or towards you in this video. And if you want to close it off, you shut it off like so. You'll notice that it has an opening right there. That's what's going to let the gas flow more freely. You also notice that the filler cup down here is pretty far down compared to the burner itself, like the last one was. Now, Prentiss Wabers was pretty ingenious in that regard. Here is a little piece of metal, and it easily goes up and down. Now, at the beginning, you would want to turn the knob, releasing pressure from the tank. The fuel is going to come through this tube, it's going to come down, and if you lift this up, the filler cup here is what will start filling up. And then you can light that, and it'll heat up the tube just like the other camp cook did. So it's a little bit different, but at the same time, it also makes the process a lot easier. And this is significantly heavier compared to the camp cook. Now you also notice it has a brass tank instead of the galvanized or tinned tank of the camp cook. To assemble it, all you have to do is lift up the grate, fold it back, and that leaves this space here open. You'll notice that there's two tabs on each side. You want to go ahead and lift those up now at this point. And then you can insert your burner, and it just rests on the side like so. And that's the wire that operates the second burner. So go ahead and position that. You don't have to open it, but go ahead and position it so you can easily grab it without sticking your hand in here after everything else is lit. Now you want to fill up your tank before you go any further. Make sure that it's 3/4 inch full at least. Go ahead and tighten that down. Now this is going to be your air cap. So you're going to turn that to the left and release it, releases the pressure, one full turn. And if you notice the gauge here, this little ticker will go up. You want it to be at least to that red line. Now for the pump itself, you want to make sure that it's oiled a little bit down here. There's a leather gasket that's inside the brass tube there. Now this one has been soaking, so it's still very pliable even after 100 and some years of when this was last, or first produced at least. I don't know when that was last used before I got it. But if we flare that out just a little bit, not too much, that's going to hug the walls of our brass tube and allow us to give the pressure that's needed in the canister. Now you should be able to feel the air coming through the opening. Now this seats down on that cap, and you want, again, to watch the pressure gauge. There's a little ball in the device that holds the air pressure in it.
Go ahead and close that off. Make everything sure everything is good and tight. Now before we go ahead and light this, if you've found this information useful or if you've liked the video so far, please do me a favor and go ahead and click like. That way other people find the video and it helps them out as well. I appreciate it. Now just like I explained before, you're going to turn the valve open and you're going to lift up the metal rod and it will fill up. And then shut it off. Okay, now we're ready to light it. Now, you're going to wait until that is completely burned out before you add any more fuel to the lines. That makes sure this piece here is sufficiently heated up. So then, once you turn this on, the liquid fuel will actually turn to vapor and go through the device. As you can see, it's kind of vaporizing right there, all by itself. Okay, so now that it's out, it's safe to go ahead and turn on the fuel. And you should see a blue flame. Okay. Since nothing's sputtering, everything looks good, we can go ahead and pull the tab to open up the other vent. And light it as well. You may just need to increase the fuel. There we go. Down these tabs so that the grate is solid. Now we can go ahead and start assembling what will be our oven. There's little tabs on both sides that actually lock the top down. Fold that over. Now, push down. And this rests on both sides of those tabs. And you can put the legs back up top. If we lift the front here, we can see the inside. Still lit. There we go. Now if you want to shut it off, all you need to do is shut this burner off first. You're going to push that in. That'll close it off. And then reduce the amount of fuel that you send to the burner. In just a few moments, that burner should go off. I like to do a double check just to make sure there's no leaking fuel anywhere before I put everything away. So there you have it. That is the Prentiss Wabers number 3 camp stove. You may be wondering, well, what about that little insert that you took out? Okay, so this insert, it folds down so that the plate, the heat plate, sits down like so. And there are places inside the oven that you can insert this. There's 2 little outward prongs. They go in the back, like so. And then the legs that the sides hold on to, they also clip in. Just like that. And you can see the plate rests directly on the grate, but it prevents too much heat from getting to your food that you're baking. I hope that you like this video. If you're interested in seeing how you can actually bake with this type of oven, then subscribe, go ahead and like the video, and hit the bell button, because the 4th week of this month, we're actually going to show you how to bake a recipe in this. And like I said at the beginning of the video, the recipe is going to come from the 1890s, but also shows up in one of my books from the 1920s. And if you want to know what those sources are, go ahead and check out www.honorableoutfitters.com. I have a bunch of books on there, and they have free versions online for you to read and peruse yourself. If you like early 20th century, I think you'll really like it. There's a treasure trove of information there. I hope this was useful to you. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Give a kiss out to your loved ones, and I'll see you guys next Sunday. Take care.